Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Um, so today we have our panelist with us, CS Avnish Srivastava sir. Avnish Srivastava is a company secretary and corporate legal professional by profession with around 20 plus years of experience in the area of corporate secretarial compliances, corporate laws, corporate finance, or project.
I will only take it. Mr. Avnish Srivastava is a company secretary and corporate legal professional by profession with around 20 years of experience in the areas of corporate secretarial compliance, corporate law, corporate finance, project finance, debt restructuring, and corporate legal matters. He holds bachelor's degree in law, gold medalist, yes, wonderful. Master's degree in finance, postgraduate diploma in business management, and he is a fellow member of our STEM Institute, ICSI. He is working with Garware High-Tech Films Limited, a company listed in BSc and NSC as a president, CS, and legal. Prior to that, he has worked with big conglomerates like SR into different business verticals. He has also worked with real estate, hospitality, and infrastructure companies based at Mumbai. He started his career with JK Synthetics Limited. He has contributed research papers in various conferences organized by renowned business schools like IIM and IIT. He is a member of editorial committee of online journal named Scientific Society of Advanced Research and Social Change. This is something new. And he is actively associated with our institute ICSI and has served as a chairman of Navi Mumbai chapter of WRCI ICSI and member of managing committee of CCGRT Navi Mumbai and COE Hyderabad. Welcome, Mr. Avnish. It's a pleasure to welcome you. Thanks a lot for your time. As usual, our Sudhakar Sarvatullah is there. He needs no introduction. With this, I will request Mr. Avnish say a few words on the subject. And I'll then request Sudhakar to say a few words and start the presentation. Thanks.
Yes.
Over to Mr. Avnish.
Thank you, Dipti Madam, for giving such a nice introduction. And thank you, Sudhakar sir, also, and the team Mehta and Mehta for inviting me on such a interesting topic. And basically, it is, I can say, being a part of the listed company is a challenging topic also for all of us, because every time there is an improvement and the format, there is a requirement, additional requirement which has to be disclosed from the disclosure point of view. And yes, regulator is also, trying to improvise the and upgrading the versions of the reporting. So definitely, it is a very interesting topic. And as I see that since it is a specified topic and mainly the company secretaries from the listed companies are more interested, more keen to see this reporting requirement. So most of them might be having the background of the listed companies only. So I will not give any kind of introduction kind of things that what is BRR or what is a BRSR. I'll straight away give a few words about the BRSR, what is the objective and how it is going to benefit to the business, because being a part of the corporate, I can see what are the benefits. Like I say, advantage of having this kind of the reporting, which give us edge over the others while dealing with the vendors who are basically not from India, like I say, at the international level or overseas level. So with these words, I say that the BRSR requires the enterprise to report ESG performance indicators to ensure that they practice the reasonable business and achieve the sustainable development. So basically, this is a kind of indicators. Certain indicators are there which has to be reported with the certain objectives, and there are certain principles also which is also given. So the objective is to adopt the sustainable business practices and integrate the ESG considerations into their operations. The second is it encourages to the comparability and quality of the non-financial information disclosed in the reports. For example, if you talk about the participation of the women in the business, or you can say talk about the gender diversification, that is not captured anywhere in the report other than the BRSR. Maybe it may be discussed on the somewhere in some other forums, but yes, there are so many numerous research papers also, like how the business are performing when the majority of the boards are direct, like I say, dominated by the other diversified, having the diversified board compositions. I have seen so many research papers also published in the A-grade journals of the IMs also level, and this topic has been a very buzzword and can be matter of the discussion. So this kind of, like I say, non-financial reporting is a basically encouraging thing within the BRSR. And third is to ensure the Indian companies to comply with the international standards and frameworks of the sustainability reporting. Obviously, the business has to sustain over a period of time, so definitely there are certain indicators which talks about it. Then to improve the stakeholders' engagement and establish the trust by ensuring that the comprehensive ESG disclosures are made. So again, it is a disclosure requirements. So now I'll come to the say benefits points of what kind of the benefit is we are deriving being a corporate. When we are having the BRSR reporting, we are having the charter documents related with the BRSR. So it enhances the transparency and accountability, and it improved the risk management. Obviously, it is contributing to certain areas to the certain extent about the risk monitoring framework also. Then increase the stakeholder trust. Obviously, it is increasing the stakeholder trust. I'll give you the another example. For I was say my company's personal was dealing with a certain vendors who are basically overseas vendors. And then inquired about the ESG ratings or something kind of. So they said, yes, my person said, our transaction has to happen, but subject to the some CST, ESG kind of reporting which we are having. So that has to be documented and has to be produced to the certain vendors, because this concept has come from the European country. So we provided this kind of data, and they were satisfied, and ultimately this deal has happened. Then the competitive advantage also. Then alignment with the global standard, obviously, as I have mentioned, this is basically requirements which are basically derived, I can say, emerged from the European countries, but now it has been a part of our reporting systems, and we have well adapted it. And then driving the sustainable development, which again I have told that business has to have the sustainable model. So these are the few things which are the BRSR. Of course, Dolly, the presenter, is going to discuss it in details. And again, Sudhakar and Aditi Ben is there to discuss and enlighten on the topic to all the participants. So with these words, I again thanks to Mehta and all the participants that I have got the opportunity to speak on this topic. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening, everyone. In fact, since Avinash has already spoken about the subject as such, I am going to dwell upon the responsibilities of the company secretaries who are the compliance officers. In fact, of late, you know that what kind of enormous responsibilities which have been entrusted upon the compliance officers under the listing regulations. And one such thing is that this BRSR reporting. In fact, I really wonder, and sometimes, that company secretaries have to have a separate department for compiling the information and then putting it into the reports. Whether it is a board's report, the amount of information, loads and loads of information is to be furnished in that. Apart from that, corporate governance report, then your M&A, management and discussion analysis, CSR reporting, now this BRSR reporting. So till recently, several companies are outsourcing this BRSR reporting because the company secretaries are a bit hesitant and bit averse as far as the BRSR reporting is concerned. Because this is nothing to do with financial, this has nothing to do with the legal provisions as such, but this is mostly compiling the information and putting it to. So sometimes what happens is that they are engaging some kind of consultants, or some company secretaries are also relying upon the ESG heads which are there, but it is their cup of tea kind of thing. But I want to caution the compliance officers who are the company secretaries that whether we like it or not, it is our responsibility. We have to vote this particular document, which we are putting it in the annual report. Because this is a part of listing regulations. Any kind of, the information what is supposed to be disclosed, which is not disclosed, this is going to lead to a non-compliance. Number two, if the secretarial auditor, whether he is concerned with this reporting or not, is also a question. According to me, the secretarial auditors are equally responsible, if not for the content as such, but the whatever is to be furnished, whether the amount of information has been furnished properly or not. Because in the MR3, the secretarial auditors are giving an affirmation that the company has complied with the listing regulations and all the other related provisions. So this regulation 34, if I am not wrong, that is the BRSR reporting. So the secretarial auditor is also confirming that the company has complied with the listing regulations and the provisions, whatever they are there as far as BRSR reporting is concerned. One more thing, that as per the recent amendment to the listing regulations, the secretarial auditor's role has been changed, and now we have to appoint them for a period of 5 years. Certain services they are not supposed to render. One of that is that secretarial auditor cannot act as a consultant for BRSR reporting is concerned. So he cannot get associated with drafting of the BRSR reporting at all. This is one important thing one has to note about this. So what the company secretaries have to gear up, how they have to do this, and what are the responsibilities, and what sort of information is to be furnished. Dolly is having a small presentation. Let us go through that, and wherever we have to add in the value, we will do that. If any questions are there at the end of the presentation, we may take up that. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so now we will start with the presentation. And today's topic, we are restricting to the BRSR report preparation and what is the role of the CS, what is the role of the secretarial auditor, and what are the benefits and as well as challenges in preparation of BRSR report. As I can see in the registration report for this webinar, we have received several questions around this points only. So we will cover up whenever we are, going for a particular slide on that. Yeah. I hope this is visible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So BRSR is a business responsibility and sustainability reporting. The initial phase of promoting non-financial reporting in India involves the mandatory submission of BRSR report. The SEBI has introduced this under SEBI LODR regulations 2015 by mandating top 1,000 listed entities in India based on their market capitalization of previous year to prepare the BRSR on the environmental, social, and governance disclosures, which will form the part of their annual report from financial year 20 to 23, as per the regulation 34(2)(f). This report forms the part of the annual report, and also this report goes to the stock exchanges where they are listed. Other companies can also furnish the business this BRSR report at voluntarily level. This initiative was undertaken as a response of India's dedication towards the UN Business and Human Rights Guiding Principles and Sustainable Development Goals. BRSR consists of disclosures which require such listed entities to report on their performance against 9 principles of National Guidelines on Responsible Business Conduct. This NGRBC 9 principles, we have already covered that in our previous session. You can visit that on our YouTube channel. Moving onwards, let's understand about the benefits of BRSR. Already, Avnish sir has given some insights on the benefits. So definitely, first of all, it will increase the value creation for the companies. It will create a trust factor considering the transparency in the report, which will again invite investors, all the stakeholders to build up the trust factor in the company. It is going to be a stronger and brand positioning, increase the brand value of the company by positioning it strongly in terms of perception of the customers and key stakeholders. Also, it will enhance the brand value further, which will help a company to raise the funds from the investors. As we know, the term about the ESG ratings, right? So it will be, there are large global investment and seamless access to global funds with competitive interest rates based on ESG ranking. There are again large capital funds such as pension fund, sovereign wealth fund, which are not just looking at the return on investment, but also on the social impact of their investment. And also, it's a competitive advantage for the company they can achieve by attracting the best talent in terms of the resources, enhancing the company's image, and meeting the stakeholders' expectations. Yeah. Avnish sir or Sudhakar sir, would you like to add on anything here?
I think Dolly, you go ahead.
Yeah. So in India, since 2009, the journey has already started towards the sustainability. In 2009, MCA has issued the voluntary guidelines on corporate social responsibility as a step towards mainstreaming the concept of business responsibility. Moving on, 2011, MCA has issued national voluntary guidelines on social, environmental, and economic responsibilities of the business. In 2012, SEBI has issued and mandated the top 100 listed entities by market capitalization to submit their BRR report, business responsibility report, as a part of their annual report. In 2015, SEBI has again extended that responsibility to top 500 listed entities. And also, India has adopted Sustainable Development Goals Agenda 2030. In 2019, MCA and SEBI, both regulatories, has issued the national guidelines on responsible business conduct, and SEBI has issued the business responsibility reporting, the applicability extended to top 1,000 listed entities. In 2020, SEBI has set up the committee which was formed to finalize the reporting format, which has recommended that BRR to be called as BRSR. So here they have added the sustainability, reporting. And also they have suggested two formats for the disclosures. One was comprehensive and another was a light version. In 2021, SEBI has amended the LODR to discontinue the BRR after the final financial year 21-22. And with effect from the financial year 20-23, top 1,000 listed entities has to submit their BRSR. And also they have issued the detailed guidelines to help the companies to prepare the BRSR report. In 2021, SEBI has came up with a circular where they have divided the indicators into essential and the leadership indicator. Essential indicators are on mandatory basis, while they have allowed the leadership indicators to be reported on a voluntary basis. In 2022, SEBI has, on the recommendation of ESG Advisory Committee, they have given several recommendations in the areas of ESG disclosures, ESG ratings, and ESG investing. Based on that recommendation, SEBI came up with a consultation paper. And then in 2023, BRSR Core was introduced, which is a subset of BRSR. Then they have also came up with the revision in the BRSR format, BRSR Core for value chain, and assurance requirement for BRSR Core, which was introduced in the year 2023. In 2024, there again new development happened. SEBI has introduced the master circular for compliance with the provision of SEBI LODR. They have issued in the November 2024, which is including the format of BRSR report, BRSR core, and the guidelines. Based on the recommendation from the expert committee, SEBI approved the key decisions related to BRSR core in December 18, 2024 board meeting. They have approved several, several disclosures regarding BRSR report, just to ease of the doing business with respect to BRSR preparation. They've substituted the assurance with the assessment or assurance in SEBI LODR 2015. Again, assessment will be a third-party assessment undertaken as per the standards to be developed by the Industry Standards Forum in consultation with SEBI. Then on 20 December 2024, SEBI issued the circular, introduced the industry standards on reporting of BRSR core. which explains the standards to go with the assessment of the BRSR. And this requirement will be applicable from financial year 2024 and 2025 onwards. In March 2025, SEBI has came up with the circular, which was in line with that board meeting happened in December 2024. Which this circular talks about the recommendations of the expert committee for facilitating ease of doing business and pursuant to public consultation. They have came up with the option to undertake assessment or assurance, ESG disclosure for value chain, and they have also introduced the disclosure on green credit. So again, this green credit is applicable since financial year 24-25 and onwards. And talking about assessment or assurance, so it's up to company to decide whether they want to go with a BRSR assessment or assurance. Yeah, so these are the amendments. And yeah, in addition, there was one more important amendment was for the ESG disclosures for value chain. So again, this is applicable. SEBI has provided one more year relaxation or to company to prepare and report on their sustainable value chain from financial year 25-26 at a voluntary level. For the first year of reporting ESG disclosures for value chain, reporting of previous year numbers shall be again voluntary. If listed entity provides ESG disclosures for value chain, then it shall disclose the percentage of total sales and purchases covered by the value chain partners. Again, this assessment or assurance of the value chain partners shall be applicable on a voluntary basis from financial year 26-27. So again, this applicability was extended by 1 year so that company can do the preparation well. Yeah. So as we have just seen that earlier BRR was there, and then now in 2022-23, SEBI has introduced that BRSR will be applicable. So in earlier BRR report, 5 reporting sections were there about general information, financial details, BR information, principal-wise performance. In BRR, they have divided reporting section in the 3 sections. Section A will be for a general information, section B is for management and process, and section C is for the principle-wise performance. That's NGRBC 9 principles. Then again, BRR was a single format for all companies. In BRSR, they have given the format BRSR and BRSR Lite. BRSR Lite is for the company to whom BRSR is not applicable, but they can report on that at voluntary level. If we talk about indicators, BRR, mostly it was a more qualitative indicators. If we talk about BRSR, there are more qualitative indicators and also quantitative indicators. It is divided into essential and leadership indicators. If we talk about disclosure, then both the reports will form the part of the annual report. In addition, BRSR to be submitted to BSE, NSE, and also on MCA portal. If we talk about the questions, then earlier in BRR, there were total 59 questions and it was very limited quantitative questions. And if we talk about BRSR, there are total 140 questions, 98 is mandatory, 42 is leadership indicator. So in totality, there are more than 300 quantitative indicators. Yeah. So now let's understand the structure and the format of BRSR. So in section A, as we have just seen that there are general disclosures which talk about the operational, financial, and ownership related information, location, market served, product or services, CSR activities, name of the assurance provider, and type of assurance obtained. Section B talks about the management and process related disclosures, which covers the structures, policies, processes relating to NGRBC principles concerning governance, leadership, and stakeholder engagement. In case the business entity choose not to adopt or report on any of the principle, the same should be stated in the report along with the reasons for not adopting the same. Section C, principle-wise disclosures. Principle-wise performance indicators covers how well business are performing. Companies report on their performance against 9 principles of NGRBC, showing their commitments to responsible business through their actions and result. So again, as we have seen that these indicators are divided into essential, which is mandatory indicator, and leadership indicator, which is voluntary. So as we have seen in section A, there are general disclosures about the company that they have to report on their reporting boundary. Whether they are reporting standalone or consolidated, which market they are serving, national, international, what is their turnover, who are the employees, what is the ratio between male and female, whether they are permanent or other than permanent, how they are treating the differently able people, how many holding subsidiary and associate companies they have, what CSR obligation they have done, then what are the transparency and disclosure compliances. It is related to complaints or grievances on any principles from the stakeholders, and also to report on their overview of the entity's material responsible business conduct. So total there are 26 questions in section A. Again, as per the guidance notes given by SEBI, the details of business activities shall be in line with the information given in MGT 7 prescribed by MCA. Yeah. Sir, you're on mute. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, apart from whatever the guidance note, though they have mentioned that the information to be furnished here to be in line with MGT 7, only that is information pertaining to the company, okay, and what we are giving it. But certain information, it may not be there, like about the number of employees, male, female workers, etc., things. But if you see this information, whatever we are furnishing, some department or the other, they might be furnishing this information to some other authorities concerned. Say, for example, under the labor law, certain returns might be being filed with the labor departments, whatever it is. So, whatever the information you are furnishing here, if that information is furnished with any other authorities, that is to be in alignment with each other. So that's why what the compliance officer has to do it is, while furnishing this information, he has to put a proper system in place that, and also prepare a responsibility matrix, which information has to come from which department. And he has to sensitize the departments across the organization for the purpose of BRSR reporting, who has to furnish what information, and wherever possible, because it is his responsibility tomorrow to establish that the information, whatever is furnished, is accurate enough, for which he may have to have the backup support documents also. So it is advisable for the compliance officer to also gather as much information as possible. Because see, normally every compliance officer or every company secretary, whenever we prepare any report, whether it is board minutes, whether it is shareholder meeting minutes, or whether it is board's report, CSR reporting, whatever the reports we are furnishing, we will definitely having the backup documents. And in this case also, we have to ensure the same. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll add something yes, because you know that the person responsible for the BRSR, maybe the board member, but yes, time of giving the responsibility only to the board member, you should have a committee also below that, and all the stakeholders, basically internal stakeholders who are supposed to provide the information respected to their department or areas, they have to be part of that committee, so that the responsibility can be fixed in advance, and they can be the person who can be the contacted for getting the information for the compilation of the data. So that is a practical thing which I am telling. Yes, sir.
Yeah, as Avanish has rightly mentioned that one of the directors have to be responsible for this BRSR reporting is concerned. So that's why it is the compliance officer who has to sensitize both the director as well as the other key persons who are there, who will be who has to take the ownership of this particular document. Because unless until the compliance officer put all the people on the mat, otherwise he will absolutely get bothered. I mean, look, he is burdened completely on this, because if you see across the organization, unless until that seriousness has to be brought in, the things will not move in. So it is for him, it is definitely whoever are the people responsible, a responsibility matrix is to be prepared and people are to be sensitized and a formal system is to be put in place. And it has to start, BRSR reporting should not be started at the end of the fag end of the financial year, but it should be started somewhere at least, if not September of year, I meant to say, but at least December onwards, the preparation should be started so that in the 3 months, some drafts, first draft, second draft, third draft can be reviewed and the things will take place like that. Yeah.
So, yeah, section B is about management and process related disclosures. So in this section, businesses to demonstrate their structures, policies, and processes put in place towards adopting the NGRBC principles and core elements. Policy and management processes. This aimed at helping businesses to demonstrate their structure, policy, and processes. Basically, there are a list of questions given in the format, which talks about whether entities, policy or policies cover each principle and its core element of the NGRBC, yes or no. Has the policy been approved by the board? Link of the policies if available. Then again, there are a list of questions which talk about the translation of policies into procedure, extension of policies to value chain partners, details of national and international code certifications adopted by the entity and mapped to each principle. There are any specific commitment, goal, or target set by the entity, with the details with the performance against each goal and target, along with the reasons if not achieved. Further, there is another section which talks on the governance, leadership, and oversight. Statement by the director responsible for the report to highlight the ESG issue. Details of highest authority responsible for the implementation and oversight the business responsibility policies. Does the entity have a specific committee of the board or director responsible for the decision making on sustainability related issues? Does the company have any independent assessment or evaluation of the working of the policies carried out by the external agencies? So basically, company has to provide all the details over here about whether they have appointed any external agencies, whether who is the highest authority responsible, whether they have done detailed review of the performance against laid down policies, follow-up actions. So this all are the responsibilities of the head CS of the company, as just Sudhakar sir has mentioned. Yeah. So, and now let's understand about the section C, which is a crucial part of the BRSR format and which is also a very technical part. Section C of the BRSR format is aimed at helping entities to demonstrate their performance in integrating the NGRBC principles and core elements with their key processes and decisions. This section is divided into essential and leadership indicator. Essential indicators are expected to be disclosed by every entity that is mandated to file in this report. The leadership indicator may be voluntarily disclosed by the entities. And leadership indicators are mostly with regard to the value chain partners. So there are 9 principles of NGRBC on which the company has to report on this section C. So let's understand each of that principle. Principle 1 talks about the ethical, transparent, and accountable business. So in the essential indicator, company has to report on their training around whether they have done any training and awareness program for these principles, whether they have, whether they have done any payment related to fines, penalties, punishment, award, compounding fees, number of directors or KMPs they have, number of employees they have, against whom disciplinary action was taken, details of complaints with regard to conflict of interest with regard to their directors and KMPs, number of days they have taken for the accounts payable, openness of business, concentration of sales and purchases. Then again, in leadership indicators, they have to provide detail on awareness programs conducted for value chain partners and the processes in place to avoid or manage the conflict of interest involving number of boards. If they have the process, then they have to provide that details. Yeah.
In fact, to say that when I was mentioning that the sensitization across the organization has to take place, in the first principle itself, it is very clearly mentioned that the percentage coverage by training and awareness programs, not only for the organization, it is even for the channel partners also. So it is better for the compliance officer to organize the awareness programs across the organization periodically. So these nine principles, whichever are there, if you, in fact, okay, I request all the participants to kindly go through this in depth because these nine principles actually, which are based on the national guidelines for responsible business conduct, they're beautifully they brought in each and every aspect which their organizations have to comply with. So if you really do these nine principles are complied, whether it is mandatory or not mandatory, every organization has to take an initiative that to start preparing this kind of a report so that it will be a kind of a benchmark for them to measure the scale of improvement year after year. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah. Principle 2 talks about the sustainable and safe provision of goods and services. So there are essential indicators on percentage of R&D and capex investment done by company to improve the environmental and social impact of their product and processes. So total R&D they have done, throughout the year and the capex investment. Processes in place to safety reclaim products, waste for reusing, recycling, and disposal at the end of the life. For example, for plastic related, including packaging, e-waste, hazardous waste, and other waste. Whether the waste collection plan is in line with the EPR plan, that is Extended Producer Responsibility Plan, submitted to pollution control boards. If not, what steps they have taken to address the issue. Then if we talk about the leadership indicator, the company has to report on their life cycle perspective or assessment they have done for this product or services, whether they have any significant social or environmental concerns and or risk arising from the production or disposal of the entity's product, percentage of recycled or reused input material to total material used in the production. So this is out of that ESG factors, this talks about the environment as well as the governance part. So their responsibility towards the stakeholders, specifically the consumers.
So in fact, here also I would like to add one thing, Dolly, is that under the section 166, the duties of directors, one of the duty is that the directors are responsible to about the protection of environment also. So it is implied that the directors, if not the person who is responsible for BRSR, but it is entirely all the directors concerned, have to ensure that the disposal of waste, okay, that it should not happen. Several times what happens is disposal of waste itself is also going to incur a lot of cost. So people, what they do is they just put it into some lakes or ponds or rivers which are nearby, or they just dump it into the earth, or they throw it into the air or sky, whatever it is like that. Ultimately, what happens is the pollution control laws are very stringent and the penal provisions are also very harsh. So it is for the organization to have some kind of what's called as a blueprint about the disposal of waste, whether it is e-waste or hazardous waste or biomedical waste or whatever the waste it is, they have to have proper plans. Also, it is equally the responsibility of the board as well as the compliance officer to understand this. So to bring the seriousness of this particular principle, the compliance officer may take an opportunity. Rather, if I am an independent director or any board, I can ask the people concerned to demonstrate to me about the waste disposal plans. Because if not for every organization, but certain key important organizations, waste disposal is a very, very important issue. Say, for example, in case of hospitals, the biomedical waste, how they will dispose it of, whether the syringes or whether, whatever other medical waste is there. And that is very, very important. Okay. So God forbids if any kind of laxity is there, that is going to lead to, a lot of hazardous consequences. Yeah.
So I'll extend the views of given by the Sudhakar sir. Since I told in the introduction part also, most of us are from the listed companies background. So there is a internal audit also, statutory audit also. So this is also areas which has to be covered by the internal auditor, because as he has rightly said that being the independent director, he has to question. So someone has to present before the independent directors whether this is a etiquette control measures are there for the waste management or not. So this is basically for the compliance officer. He has to ensure that the internal auditor is also monitoring this and presenting it on quarterly, or even if not on a quarterly basis, it is on the half-yearly basis and annually basis, because it may be the part of their internal audit plan. So there is a checks and balances. Then how we have to say measure and have to control this kind of thing, so that ultimately it has to be complied in a very say spiritual manner and a holistic way, so that ultimately at time of the preparation of the report you have the etiquette data, as well as you can report in a very transparent manner. Yeah, that please go ahead.
Yeah. So principle 3 talks about the well-being of employees, including in value chains. Essential indicator talks about for the details of measures for the well-being of employees and the workers, type of insurance, maternity benefits, cost incurred on well-being measures as a percentage of total revenue of the company, accessibility of workplaces to differently abled employees, mechanism available to receive and redress the grievances of the employees, details of training given to employees and workers, safety related incidents, measures taken towards that, and spending on measures towards the well-being of employees and workers. Leadership indicators talks about number of employees or workers having suffered high consequence work-related injury, ill health, fatalities, actions taken to address significant risk or concerns for value chain partners, measures undertaken by the entity to ensure that statutory dues have been deducted and deposited by the value chain partners. So this principle is dedicated for the social factor of the ESG, where they are asking companies to take care of their employees and the workers, including their reporting on their supply chain. Principle 4 talks about the respect the interest of and be responsive to all stakeholders. Essential indicators ask to report on processes to identify and list stakeholders group identified, what is the channel of communications, frequency of engagement, purpose and scope of engagement they are maintaining. Leadership indicators indicates for process for consultation between stakeholders and the board on economic, environmental and social topic. What are the details of instances of engagement with and actions to be taken to address the concerns of vulnerable or marginalized stakeholders group. So again, this principle is covering all the stakeholders. Principle 5 talks about respect and promotion of human rights. So there are essential and leadership indicator. Essential indicator talks about employees and workers who have been provided training on human rights issues, details of minimum wages, grievances related to human rights issues, number of complaints received and addressed, a complaint filed under POSH. What are the gross wages paid to female as a percentage of total wage paid by the entity? And leadership indicator talks about the scope and coverage of any human right due diligence conducted, sexual harassment, child labor, and also what are the corrective actions taken or underway to address the significant risk or concerns. So again, this principle covers social and the governance factor. Principle 6, which is very technical and it covers the environmental factor. It talks about the efforts to protect and restore the environment. So there are essential indicators, which is very much quantitative and descriptive questions are there. Details of the total energy consumption and energy intensity, details of water withdrawal source, water discharge and air emissions and greenhouse gas emissions, water generation and disposal management practices, details on operations or offices in and around ecological sensitive areas, details on if there is any complaint with applicable environmental law or regulations or guidelines. From non-renewable sources, electricity consumption, fuel consumption, energy intensity, water discharge, and how they are doing the treatment of the waste water, and what they are doing with the waste management. Also, company has to report on their total scope 1, scope 2 emissions, the emissions intensity per rupee of turnover adjusted or purchasing power parity, and water intensity. Leadership indicators talk about the similar issues with respect to their value chain partners, and water withdrawal consumption and the discharge in the areas of water stress.
But according to me, this is a very, it's a significant what's called as a parameter on which the information is to be furnished. As Dolly, you rightly mentioned, this is highly technical information. So the persons concerned, they have to give this information. And second thing is, this is going to be a public document. Whenever you are furnishing this BRSR reporting, the information what you are giving in here is going to be a public document. The accuracy of this, the regulator may not be looking into, SEBI may not be looking into the accuracy of this particular information what you are furnishing. So question comes that recently somebody asked me that, sir, who authenticates this information? Who scrutinizes this information, whatever I am furnishing it? See, separately, the proxy advisory forms, they might be going through each and every information what you are furnishing in the public documents like annual reports. In addition to this, it may so happen that you may be having some kind of whistleblowers also. If you furnish any information wrongly, which is not supposed to be there, and they notice that information which is very sensitive, point of time it is going to catch your back. So one has to be very careful while furnishing the information. And if any confidential information is there, how that is to be furnished, that the concerned people have to put their heads together and decide it. What information to be furnished, how it is to be furnished. But as far as the compliance officer is concerned, when the rainy day comes, if he has to establish that the information furnished is very accurate enough, he has to have the backup documents with him. Yeah. Anish bhai, if you want to add anything for this.
Nothing, sir, because accuracy of the data is more important. So you rightly said, accuracy of the data is more important. Whether it is a proxy advisor, whether it is a regulator, whether it is any third party who is auditing our reports. If there is any discrepancy, definitely we will have to be penalized. So that's the reason that compliance officer and the person who is providing the certain data, that has to be scrutinized in such a way that it has to be filtered at least 2 or 3 levels so that accurate data go to the public.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah. So principle 7 talks about
just one more minute I will take on the previous slide.
Yeah.
When you are furnishing this kind of information, it is not only the SEBI or stock exchanges or the Ministry of Corporate Affairs who might be looking for your document. It might also be that the concerned regulators also might be looking into this particular BRSR reporting. So if they notice anything wrong, then they will be able to catch hold of the company. So furnishing the information in alignment with whatever you have already furnished with other regulatory authorities is to be in line with this. Yeah.
Just a second. Okay, is it visible now?
Yeah, it is visible.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So Principle 7 talks about businesses in responsible and transparent manner. Number of affiliations with trade and industry chamber or associations. Top 10 trade and industry chambers, associations the entity is a member of, and the reach of the state chamber or association, national or state level. Details of the corrective action with regard to any issue related to anti-competitive conduct by the entity. Leadership indicators talks about the details of public policy positions advocated by the entity, frequency of review by the board annually, and they have to provide the details on that. Principle 8 is on inclusive growth and equitable development. Essential indicators talks on details of social impact assessment of the projects undertaken by the entity. So this is again related to CSR. Information on the project for which ongoing rehabilitation and resettlement is being undertaken by the entity. Mechanisms to receive and redress the grievances of the community. Job creation in smaller towns, rural, semi-urban, urban and metropolitan. So company has to report on these categories for the job creation. And then talking about the leadership indicator, what are the actions taken to mitigate any negative social impact? Information on the CSR projects undertaken and details of beneficiaries of CSR projects. So this is, if we talk about the ESG factor, this covers the social and the governance part. This is the last principle of section C, value to customers. So there are again essential and leadership indicators. Essential indicators ask to report on mechanisms to receive and respond to consumer complaints and feedback, number of consumer complaints received, policy on cyber security and risk related to data privacy, instances of data breaches, percentage of data breaches, and leadership indicators talks on channels or platforms where information on product or services of the entity can be assessed, information and education to customers provided by the company about the safety and the responsible usage of the product or services they are providing. Yeah. So the next topic is very important. What are the role of company secretaries? And we have received many questions on this particular slide. So the company secretary, in fulfilling the responsibilities, serves as a compliance officer to uphold the principles of corporate governance. We all know that. So the company secretary is responsible for supporting the board and the governance processes, providing the advice and guidance to the board of the company law and the appropriate regulations. It's on policies and best practices in corporate governance. CS plays a vital role in coordinating efforts across internal teams and external vendors to ensure the successful implementation of BRSR. To comply with the SEBI guidelines on BRSR, a crucial structure is needed for a data collection and present all the required information as per the format that we have just seen just now, section A, B, and C of the BRSR format. And also the company secretaries are suggested to start with the process and the planning at the start of the year, and to streamline the process, create a structured process, and for the data collection, overview the process at regular intervals, create the awareness or hold the training sessions for the BRSR to make especially the factory people understand the compliances and the timely data collection. And also they can have a regular meeting to find out the area of improvement and welcome the suggestions to constantly improvise the sustainability. Yeah. So any inputs, all panelists? Yeah.
No, I think you have rightly mentioned that it's a process to be started at the starting of the year, involve entire organization, continuously keep involving, so make suggestion, invite suggestions, so that still improvement can be done. I think it's rightly put. Or otherwise, other panelists, please.
Yeah. Avnish sir, would you like to?
Yeah, it is rightly said by you because we have to start planning in advance so that the area which has been not be reported as well. You have mentioned it is in process in the previous report. You can say there is a scope of the improvement that has to be discussed in advance so that you are having a 7-8 months to improvise there. And it should not be a surprise and the reporting date of the 31st March and then you are not having time to improvise it. So it has to be well planned in the say first quarter itself. But as rightly said by Sudhakar sir, and practically seen the people will start preparing it from the December onwards. So still you are having around the 4 months to improvise the what has been missing in the previous years or whatever the case not has been captured in the previous data. Because the regulators also wants to upgrade it year by year. So definitely you should also be show your intention to improvise this, keeping in view the speed of this kind of the reporting.
Yeah.
See, I want to add only one more thing here is that as a company secretary or the compliance officer, whatever the information we are furnishing in the annual report, that information is connected with our profession. So we are in sync with that, whatever we are giving it. To a large extent, this is the only document, BRSR report, is not connected as such. So always it is the human tendency to have some kind of aversion to the things which we are not very comfortable with. That is the reason that, with all due regards, several company secretaries don't pay the amount of attention what is to be paid to this particular report. So it is high time, according to me, you have to develop an interest, go through the different companies, BRSR reports, how they are furnishing the information, how you are furnishing the information, wherever the improvements are to be brought in. And in case within the organization that kind of skill sets are not available, better to invite some kind of experts to impart some kind of a training. At the same point of time, also seek guidance in the preparation of BRSR reporting. So once 1 or 2 years you are able to prepare with the guidance and hand holding of somebody who are having expertise in this particular line, thereafter you can take off. So in the initial hiccups will certainly be there. That hiccups are to be overcome, and it should not be just okay, yarki, that let somebody else take the responsibility. You are the compliance officer, you are the company secretary who have been entrusted upon the responsibility to comply with the listing regulations. So I reiterate that whether we like it or not, we have to take ownership of this particular document. And as secretarial auditor also, you have to pay some kind of interest in this particular thing. And in case of any kind of non-compliance or any kind of information not furnished properly, the client needs to be sensitized about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we will talk on that only, the role of the secretarial auditor. So secretarial auditors is primary duty is related to BRSR to assess and report on the company's compliance with applicable law, regulations, and rules regarding the sustainability and social responsibility. By ensuring the accuracy and completeness of BRSR disclosures, the auditor helps to protect the interest of all the stakeholders, including investors, employees, and general public. Secretarial auditor plays a very crucial role in BRSR by accessing the BRSR compliances, verifying accuracy of the data and completeness of BRSR disclosures, also identifying non-compliances and reporting on the same. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Would you like to add on anything for the secretarial auditor?
Yeah, Sudhakar already mentioned the kind of scope of work for secretarial auditor.
Yeah.
That, of course, we are not required to go through the fact and all that, but whether the company has complied with the relevant provisions applicable to the company as regards BRSR, and it contains the information which is required to be given in that, at least that portion surely is required to be taken care of by secretarial auditor. But I know it's again is going to be challenged that the companies accept that even secretarial auditor will look into this portion.
Yeah.
But yes, we are bound. It is also one of the compliance where it is applicable. We have to ensure that. But Sudhakar, I have one question that where, voluntarily also people are doing BRSR report because for business purpose they need, like European countries, they insist BRSR and ESG and all that. So that exercise they carry out. So since they are doing for value addition, they also add it. So that helps them in a business and, other areas. So in that scenario, whether we should ensure that they comply all with the requirements or we can leave it. What your view
Not
on?
required, not required. See, unless until it is mandatory as a secretarial auditor, you have no role. Suppose the company may give the information in the part of the annual report, which is
Yeah.
on a voluntary basis. So, as secretarial auditor, you have to ensure only what the company is supposed to comply. Only to that extent, your reporting will be there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's the point only, Dolly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So now this is the last topic of this session. What are the challenges with respect to BRSR preparation? We had already received some questions regarding the data collection. How to, go with that, how to collect the data. And again, to prepare this comprehensive report actually, it takes a lot of time. And also, if the company hires the expertise or install any software, it adds on their cost factor. And again, which standard to choose for reporting format, that is also another challenge. And when we talk about the assurance for this BRSR, then again to identify the assurance provider, that is also another challenge. Yeah. So, Avnish sir, if you want to add on anything for the challenges.
Challenges we have already discussed. I think Sudhakar sir also covered this point. I have also covered this point. Okay, that how the data has to be, uh, how to fetch the data and how the data has to be collected. So, as I have suggested, okay, that I have suggested also mechanism is there. Okay, that below that person who is responsible for the BRSR, you should lead a committee of the persons who are basically responsible of the various departments for providing certain data. So that person has to be included in that committee so that they can be the primary responsible for providing such a data and obviously to authenticate that data also.
Yeah. Thank you. So we will take up some questions now. Yeah. So there is question, should permanent employees and workers should be considered as provided total number in annual report? So I think this is regarding the section C where the company has to report on the number of permanent employees and the workers. I think
See
the
that if I'm not wrong, they asked in that report itself how many permanent, how many temporary, and all, contractual
yes,
employment and all.
yes,
So
yes.
those details you have to furnish it. Whatever has been asked there.
And even in the guidelines, the more details are provided how to report on this particular question.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Then another question is regarding how to collect the data. Okay, another question is some data requires for male and female separately, others do not. Why this difference? So I think there is no okay.
No, this thing, that is the reporting format as such, what can we say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who can be appointed as an assurance provider? So for again, there is a guidelines issued by SEBI. There is no specific eligibility criteria is given for the assurance provider. So who are having the expertise can be appointed, but SEBI has given the who cannot be appointed as an assurance provider. So that company has to check while appointing the assurance provider for that. So there was a question, so I just had answered on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what is the difference between audit or certificate and reasonable assurance?
I think if I'm not wrong, that audit term has been replaced with assurance.
So assurance term has been replaced with the assessment term.
Yeah.
Because see, it's a third party assurance, so the word is used assurance, and again to give the relaxation for to the companies, the SEBI has introduced the assessment. What is the meaning of extended producer responsibility? Avnish sir, would you like to answer on this?
Sorry, I missed this question. Can you repeat it?
What is the meaning of extended producer responsibility?
I think Sudhakar sir is the best person to answer this question.
So
Is it part of that format question, or this is from where this question is
yeah,
coming out?
this is part of the format. So basically, these are the regulations applicable to several companies only. So there are EPR separate regulations. So you may check that that regulations, if it is applicable to your company, then only you have to provide the answer in the BRSR format. Okay. With these employees. Okay, so almost questions we have covered.
See, the last question, that what they say is, will the employees who have served for entire 12 months be considered for count of permanent employee? See, if I am not wrong, this information, whatever you have to furnish, is as on a particular date, that is as on 31st March. So that whether the people who have worked in between the year, they left and all those things, obviously whoever have left, whoever have joined, they are to be taken into account only as on 31st March. Whatever the data is there, that data you have to collect it and furnish into this BRSR reporting. Okay.
Yes, sir. There is one question, who will give the assurance? Is it statutory auditor? Yes, statutory auditor are eligible to provide the assurance. Then there is another question, is BRSR format is unique for all companies? No, BRSR format is uniform for all the companies. So there is standard format issued for all the companies by SEBI. Yeah. So we are done with all the questions.
Very good.
Yeah. So can we conclude the webinar? Actually, we are early today.
I think that there is no other questions and all, we can do that. But the only thing what we can say is that in fact, that sometimes I feel that over regulations kills the business, that these days the regulations are becoming so much, and the amount of information what is expected to be furnished in the annual reports or in the quarterly reports to the stock exchanges and all, it is really mind-boggling. You see the regulation 23, regulation 30, the amount of that, ISM notes, whatever the information is to be furnished. So day by day, the what's called as the compliance burden is increasing. And where is the end to this? It is not visible at all, that every day something or the other is happening. So, in fact, that recently somebody was asking me, sir, how to cope up with this kind of overloads of information, what needs to be furnished. The answer to that is only one thing. The days have gone where individuals can work. It is now systems have to work, individuals cannot work, whether it is on their duties, they have to do that. So at least normally most of the organizations, we used to have a DOP, delegation of power, delegation of authority, we used to have the matrix. It is a high time for me that compliance officers have to prepare the matrix of delegation of responsibilities. Under which regulations, who has to do what? Say, for example, prohibition of insider trading regulations are there. That a company, the compliance officer cannot ensure the compliances under PIT regulations in isolation. But at the same point of time, you cannot expect all the employees to know every law. So it is the responsibility of compliance officer to sensitize the organizations across at a right amount of information to be furnished, a right amount of training and development. Procedures need to be implemented. So there's a lot of things. Okay, so that though we have been told several times, hard work is not the way. You have to have smart work. Now it is exactly that is very much required. The compliance officers have to do smart work, but not the hard work. For that, lot of what's called as okay, thought process has to go on the drawing board itself. So before any kind of amendments or new laws comes, immediately an implementation plan, a blueprint is to be prepared. And that, as I told you, that matrix of responsibility is to be prepared and need to be sensitized across the organization. So the days have gone and okay, at the end of the year, I will start doing all these things. So you have to be just like army is always on alert. Same is the case with compliance officers also. They have to be always on alert and ensuring that what we have to do it and who has to do what exactly. And periodical reviews are to be there, involved, and say at the same point of time, earlier the compliance officers used to say that nobody listens to us. Even now that the SEBI has come to the rescue of all compliance officers, and on the 12th December 24 amendment to the listing regulations, they made it clear that the compliance officers have to report to the board directly. So now it is the responsibility of the board as well as the compliance officer to be in sync with each other and ensure the compliances. And I think that's what I want to say while concluding. Yes, Doctor.
Dipti ma'am, can we conclude this webinar?
I think she might not be there.
Yeah. By the time, Avnish, would you like to add on, because we are concluding now this webinar?
I think you have covered all the areas, and Sudhakar sir has also given, let's say, more detail about the each and every regulations, as well as what is the requirement, what is the practical aspects of this BRSR reporting, and what is the responsibilities of the compliance officer, and what is the responsibility of the, in fact, secretarial auditor also. So I think this was well covered, and yes, you presented it very well, and we answered the queries also. So with these words, I say thanks to all the other my colleagues.
One more question has come.
Okay, yes, Dipti madam.
No, one more question has come. If the company is preparing report under Dow Jones Index for business, yeah, Dolly, you can see this.
Yeah, they can disclose under the annual report.
Okay, yeah, fine. Or at least last question you have answered that. Okay.
I mean, and okay, the last final word, one more thing, if I just forgot to add that thing is whenever I use the word compliance officers have to do this. The other side of the table is the secretarial auditor is there. Whatever the compliance officer is doing, the secretarial auditor has to check it. So it is equally applicable. I'm not only talking about the compliance officer, whatever I'm asking the compliance officers to do, it is equally applicable to the secretarial auditors also. Even they have to do whatever I ask, the compliance officers have to do it. They have to also have their own ways and means to check the compliances. Okay. So they too have to have their own matrix of compliances. Again, the secretarial audit team has to be sensitized enough, and they have to be imparted the kind of training what they require wherever it is, so that they will become agile and what's called as responsible to do the audits properly. Because the responsibility of secretarial auditor is equally very important on these aspects. Yeah.
Thank you, Sudhakar. I think we can close this now since all the questions is answered. Thanks, Mr. Avnish. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, madam.
Sudhakar. Thanks, Dolly, for wonderful presentation. Thanks to all the participants for your support. Thanks. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Avnish sir, Sudhakar sir, ma'am. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.